Welcome break. Heartbreak and shock tonight in the local nightlife community as friends mourn the loss of Sharell Canty. The 44-year-old was shot to death over the weekend at a home in Grayson.
She was laughing. Thursday night, good food, good company, a table full of people who loved her. Tamara Young, former WNBA player, sat across from Sharell Canty and watched her light up the room the way Sharell always did. Easy, natural, like she was born for it. 3 days later, Sharell Canty was dead. Shot twice in the head inside a house in one of the quietest suburbs in Georgia. She was 44 years old. If you knew Sharell, you knew the energy before she even spoke. Her business partner, Tejai Henry, described it as an aura, not a metaphor, a real felt thing. The kind of presence that walks into a room and changes the temperature. Sharell co-owned Opium, one of Midtown Atlanta's premier nightlife venues. And in Atlanta's entertainment world, that is not a small thing. That city's nightlife scene is competitive, image-driven, and unforgiving. Sharell operated at the top of it. She understood people. She understood rooms. She knew how to build a staff, read a crowd, and create an experience that kept people coming back. Opium was not just a business. It was her fingerprint on Atlanta's culture. Her circle reflected that. Athletes, entertainers, influencers, people who moved through the world with intention. Tamara Young was not just a famous friend at that Thursday dinner. She was someone who genuinely loved Sharell. And when the news broke days later, Young went public with her grief because there was no other way to hold it. This is the part of the story that gets me every time. Because on Thursday night, Sharell Canty was present. She was happy. She was exactly the kind of woman you build a story around, not the kind you end one with. But there was a part of Sharell's life that almost nobody knew about. And that part is what killed her. Stay with me until the end of this episode, because I'm going to give you a safety tip. One that is specific to stories exactly like this one. It could matter more than you think. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. Her Instagram handle was @StephanieSoldIt. That tells you everything about the brand Stephanie Byram built. Clean, confident. The kind of agent who does not just list properties, she closes them. ERA Sunrise Realty, Duluth, Georgia. License number 364902, issued by the Georgia Real Estate Commission. On paper, Stephanie Byram was exactly the kind of professional you call when you want someone who gets it done. And she did get it done. A $803,000 closing in Beaufort, $444,000 in Lawrenceville, $424,000 in Loganville. Substantial homes, 4 and 5 bedrooms. The kind of properties families move into and exhale. She sold people the feeling of arrival, the quiet street, the good school district, the front door that means you made it. She sold safety. But Stephanie Byram was also Sharell Canty's ex-wife. Not ex-girlfriend, ex-wife. These two women had stood in front of someone and made a promise. And somewhere between that promise and May 2026, something broke. Sources close to the situation described a pattern of jealousy and possessiveness coming from Byram after the marriage ended. The kind of tension that does not announce itself loudly. It builds quietly, behind closed doors. Away from colleagues, clients, and cameras. Most people stop reading here. What happens next is the part nobody talks about, because the people who knew them professionally had no idea. The friends, the colleagues, the clients buying dream homes through Stephanie Byram, none of them saw it. That invisibility is not accidental. It is a feature of how successful people manage their public image. You protect the brand, you protect the reputation. And sometimes in doing that, you protect the wrong person. Because the thing about people who help others build safe homes is that sometimes, behind their own front door, it is anything but. Grayson, Georgia does not look like the kind of place this story ends up. It is an outer ring suburb of Atlanta. Quiet, planned. The kind of community where the lawns are maintained and the HOA emails are taken seriously. Dove Lake sits inside that world. Modern craftsman homes built in 2022, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. $500,000 of carefully designed suburban piece, 344 Wilkerson Way, 354, 374, 384. Every home on that street was built for privacy. Wide lots, insulated walls. Enough distance between front doors that your neighbor's argument never becomes your business. That design feature matters here. In a dense city block, someone hears something and calls 911. In Dove Lake, you can be in crisis behind a closed door and the street outside stays perfectly still. Nobody sees. Nobody knows. The same square footage that signals success also signals silence. Between Friday, May 22nd and Sunday, May 24th, Something happened inside one of those homes. The exact timeline is still part of the active investigation. What we know is that Sharell Canty and Stephanie Byram were both inside that residence, and the confrontation that followed did not stay a confrontation. At 8:42 on Sunday morning, a neighbor noticed something was off. They approached the house. They found Sharell. If you have watched this far and you have not subscribed yet, I want to ask you something genuinely. Go to the comments right now and tell me why. Because people who follow cases like this one tend to understand something that others do not yet. And I think you already know what that is. 2 shots, both to the head. At close range, this was not an accident. This was not a struggle. This was a decision. Gwinnett County Police Department arrived at Wilkerson Way on the morning of May 24th and initially classified it as a suspicious death of unknown origin. That classification did not last long. Forensic technicians processed the scene. Detectives conducted interviews. The physical evidence and the domestic history converged fast. Within hours, the investigation had a direction. Within 24 hours, it had a name. On Monday, May 25, 2026, Stephanie Byram was arrested and booked into the Gwinnett County Jail. No bond. The charges were not light: malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Under Georgia law, malice murder means prosecutors are prepared to argue this was deliberate and premeditated. Not a moment of rage, a decision made with intent. But here is the detail that stops you cold. The firearm charge carries a mandatory consecutive sentence. That means if Stephanie Byram is convicted, the prison time for that charge does not run alongside the murder sentence. It runs after. She would not just be serving time for Sharell's death. She would finish that sentence and then start another one, consecutively. That is not a legal technicality. That is the rest of her life. If this case matters to you, share this episode, not for the channel, because Sharell's story deserves to be heard beyond this screen. Now, the safety tip I promised you. In cases like this one, the warning signs existed before the violence did. Jealousy, possessiveness, a relationship that became controlling after it ended. If someone in your life is exhibiting those patterns toward you, document everything. Screenshots, dates, incidents. Report it to someone you trust before you feel like it is serious enough to report. Because by the time it feels serious enough, you may have already lost the window. Tell one person where you are going every single time. And if an ex-partner's behavior feels obsessive, do not minimize it to protect their reputation or yours. Your life is worth more than the awkwardness of that conversation. Stephanie Byram is currently sitting in the Gwinnett County Jail, no bond. And the DA's office is building a case around those 2 shots.
A usually quiet Gwinnett County neighborhood swarmed by police after a woman was found dead inside a home. And we just learned the victim's name. Gwinnett County Police identified her as 44-year-old Sharell Canty, and detectives arrested 48-year-old Stephanie Byram in connection to that case. Byram is now charged with murder. Police are calling this incident a domestic-related homicide, and we're told that a neighbor discovered the body on Wilkerson Way in Grayson over the weekend. One woman who lives nearby tells us that she didn't hear anything until she saw those flashing lights, those police lights outside her home.
All I saw was a bunch of police cars surrounded the area and an ambulance and then yellow tape on the house. It was really just a crazy situation, so I ran right inside and got my mom.
Sharell bought to everybody else. She bought a home. She bought a party. She created a vibe. Sharell was really like a staple for us. Like, it was like a big sister without being a big sister, like without the blood and vibe, but that was still our sister. Like, we didn't want anything with Sharell around.
Here's what people get wrong about domestic violence. They picture a specific zip code, a specific tax bracket, a specific kind of relationship. They picture what television taught them. And then a case like this one arrives and dismantles all of it. Sharell Canty co-owned a successful nightclub in Midtown Atlanta. Stephanie Byram was closing near million-dollar real estate deals in suburban Georgia. These were not women on the margins. They were thriving, publicly, visibly. And the violence still found its way inside that house on Wilkerson Way. Professional success is not a shield. It never was. What it does do is raise the stakes of disclosure. When your name is attached to a brand, a business, a public image, you protect it. You do not call your friends and tell them your ex-wife is becoming possessive. You manage it privately. You tell yourself it will settle. That calculation can cost you everything. Same-sex intimate partner violence is also one of the most underreported categories in criminology. It carries its own specific pressures, its own silence. The core psychology, though, is identical across every relationship dynamic. Control, obsession, the refusal to accept that someone has chosen to leave. Those are not gendered instincts. They are human ones. And they are lethal when left unchecked. Dove Lake was designed for peace. Wide lots, private homes, quiet streets. That same design made it possible for whatever happened between Friday and Sunday to happen without a single neighbor knowing. 3 nights before she died, Tamara Young sat across from Sharell Canty at dinner. She said Sharell seemed fine, happy, present, and that is the part that stays with you. Because Sharell may have known something was wrong and had nobody to tell. To Sharell's family, to Tajai Henry, and everyone at Opium who showed up to work and found a void where their leader used to be, to Tamara Young and everyone at that Thursday dinner who had no idea it was the last good night, I am sorry. Sharell built something real in Atlanta. She deserved to see where it was going. Her story is not a cautionary tale. It is a demand that we stop assuming this happens to other kinds of people in other kinds of places. It happens here, in the quiet suburbs, behind the beautiful front doors, to the people we least expect to lose. To everyone who made it to the end, thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.